Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate you spending your evenings with us today. My name is Jake Ellis. I am the president of the Red River Gorge Climbers Coalition, and this is our 2024 open meeting. A few housekeeping before we get going. We are recording the meeting, so if you look in the attendee list and you see Supernormal AI, that's our recording tool. And then during the meeting, feel free to ask questions during the chat or in the Q&A. Our board members will be monitoring that to try to get those questions answered during the meeting. If anything does not get answered during the meeting, we can get that taken care of at the Q&A session. If you don't feel comfortable talking in the meeting, feel free to email us at rrgcc@rrgcc.org and we'll get back to you there. Well, cool. I am going to start off with a quick poll. I actually haven't used a poll before, so I hope this works. Let's see. All right, so that poll should be live. Just helps us understand a little bit more of where everybody's coming from, so we can focus our efforts a little bit better next year if needed. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get into it. So, like I said, my name is Jake Ellis. I am the president. Going down the list here of introductions, we have Brianna Blanchard, our vice president, elected this year. Brian Ogawa, our secretary, elected this year. Matt Froelich, our returning treasurer. Curtis Gale Dyer, our volunteer land manager. Amber Garvey, the chair of our marketing communications committee. Angel Sierravino, a new board member this year, really helping with membership and fundraising, as well as a lot of time spent on events. Kat Runner, a board member at large, doing a lot of work with the education, DEI, and outreach. Cole Musial, a new board member this year, focusing a lot on conservation stewardship as well as access and acquisitions. Colin Howell, a board member involved with a lot of things, but heavily involved with marketing and communications. Curtis Rogers, chair of our events and sponsorship committee, as well as conservation and stewardship. Jeremy Rancic, the chair of our access and acquisitions committee. Nick Hart, the chair of our membership and fundraising committee. And Sam North, the co-chair of our Education, DEI, and Outreach Committee. And then getting into our paid staff, Billy Simic, our Executive Director, and then Emily Bruns, our recent addition and Marketing Director, who recently joined us in October of 2023. And then Bill Strachan, our Executive Director, Emeritus. All right, so getting into our agenda for the meeting today. Up next, our mission and strategy, a quick look there, and then diving into our board and committee structure, and then looking at our 2024 strategic goals. And then we'll get some updates about our membership program, as well as those various committee reports and looking back at 2023. And then a quick update about our donor and sponsor acknowledgement, important dates, and then getting into Q&A. So getting into our mission and strategy, our mission is that guiding beacon that helps us make the decisions what's best for the organization. So we're dedicated to securing and protecting open public access to rock climbing in the Red River Gorge area of Kentucky and promoting conservation of the environment on the lands where we climb. And so that gets broken down into our 4 strategy points here, which is really that roadmap to help us accomplish that mission. So first, securing the highest quality climbing opportunities, whether on public or private land. So secure means many different things, purchasing like we've been able to do with our properties, or even just working with those public and private landowners to obtain access in different ways. And then making climbing sustainable for climbers in the environment. So that conservation piece, a lot of the work that our conservation and stewardship committee is doing every year, the trails, that physical footprint that we know climbers are going to make. And then providing exemplary stewardship of the natural environment on the lands where we climb. So thinking about conservation as well as preservation, being a steward to the natural environment on the lands that we climb, but maybe the areas that we don't need to have that impact, and really thinking about the natural environment. And then educating the climbers about access issues, encouraging them to take ownership for their behavior and its impact on access. So thinking about how we can be the leading by example about points 1, 2, and 3, and then helping the community be educated and follow that while they're on our properties or even on other properties. And with our mission and strategy in mind, looking at our operation or our committees, I just wanted to first point out that besides our 2 paid staff members, we're all volunteers. And so everybody on this list here that's not Billy and Emily are volunteers. And then the folks listed with the asterisk by their names, they're not board members. So these are a mix of board members and non-board members. And these committees, we're really able to get a lot of the work done through our committees. So just a huge thank you to all of the folks on these next slides of putting in the time and effort to get this work done to further our mission and our strategy there. But starting with our fundraising and membership, obviously this committee focuses heavily on our membership program being such an important part of our organization since it started a few years ago, but also thinking about the other fundraising opportunities, our grants, partnerships, and any other thing that may come by. Events and sponsorship, thinking about the Rocktoberfest, the Red in the Day, the Johnny and Alex Trail Day, as well as the films and the Boulder Comps and trivia nights that we were able to put on, and thinking about not just fundraising at those events, but education and outreach during those. Operations, the internal, not seen very much work, legal, the accounting, bookkeeping, that necessary to any organization, but necessary committee. Marketing communications, increasing the awareness and amplifying the mission of the coalition. And with the addition of Emily as our full-time marketing director, in just a short time, we're already seeing a lot of improvements, especially since this committee touches so many of our other committees, really being able to ensure that we're amplifying the mission at our events or during our membership drives or on our website. It really touches everything. And so this committee does a whole lot, whether that's social media, our newsletters, email blasts, or in-person events, kiosks, whatever it may be. They really do make an impact on everything that we do. And then governance, building the board, helping our staff and allowing them to have the autonomy to do the things that they need to do, the tools they need to do it, and really making sure that the organization's following our mission. Moving on to our functional committees, access and acquisitions. No surprise here, this is something that's extremely important to us. It's in our first line of our mission statement. And there's always work to be done. And Jeremy touches on that a lot in his slide. But there's always something to be done. And it may seem like there's, moving like a snail, but it's really, really important work. And we're always trying to stay up on the relationships to be able to jump on the opportunities for access. And so this committee, I can't say it enough, but always working hard, and often it feels like there's not a lot to show, but these folks are really important to the organization. Conservation stewardship, Curtis Gale Dyer and Audrey Gale Dyer had a second year in a row an Access Fund Conservation Award. And it just goes to show the work that they're doing. It's never ending. It feels like our project list grows every year, even though we're working hard at Johnny and Alex Trail Day, working with other organizations on those monthly trail days and things like that. So always trying to fight the erosion of our flooding, the natural environment, as well as the user impact. And then education, DEI, and outreach, really engaging with the community about the barriers and inequalities to climbing and working to create that inclusive community. And Brianna really does a good job with the mission statement that they've put together for this committee. But outside of Climb Late and Rock Late and even the Jim to Crag, education events, there's a lot of other initiatives that we're working towards this year. So moving on from our committees, but looking into our 2024 goals. And so, a lot of these goals are 1 to 3 year goals. So these may be on here from last year, but doesn't mean that we're not making progress towards these. And so, especially like I mentioned with access and acquisitions, there's always something to be done. And creating those relationships, like in point 2 there, is a large piece, and it takes a lot of time and effort. And then the work that we've been able to do to improve the outreach and communication with the private landowners leads us to be in better position to complete the commitment to new climbing access in at least one of those 3 opportunities that we've been working really hard to achieve. And then educating the public on bolting in the route development and maintenance on coalition land, because we know that there's a lot of education that needs to be put out there, and there's organizations that are helping with that, but focusing on our properties, really also thinking about the conservation piece when a new route is there. And then conservation stewardship, to that point of there's always work to be done on the coalition land, and being thoughtful and thinking about the work that we need to be proactive about. And then also we have point 2 here, nursery, Brona, and chaos rehab. Those are major projects that are on our list this year, and there's 15 or so more on that same list. But these are large projects that, we're rolling over from 2023 because they're so large, but we made a lot of work or made a lot of progress on those last year. We're hoping to finish those up this year. And then building those relationships for Forest Service. Curtis Rogers, as the committee chair, has already done a really great job with that, meeting with them monthly, and has already done some cleanup work in the Red River Gorge with the Forest Service. And then creating that transition plan for land manager. Just like we were able to bring on Emily, we're trying to be prepared for when we can bring on a part-time or full-time paid land manager. And that's also a goal in the governance committee. And then education, DEI, and outreach, growing and fundraising for Climb Late and other DEI initiatives that Brianna will touch on a little bit more detail later. But that is a really good initiative that we're seeing grow. We started off in Cincinnati and other cities, and now we're seeing that grow and expand to new locations. And then growing that Jim DeCragg program, working with different organizations like REI or even universities to make sure that we can help educate climbers. And then nurturing relationships in Indigenous communities and local organizations and people in the Red River Gorge area. We know we work a lot in those major cities, Cincinnati, Louisville, Lexington, but really focusing on the Red River Gorge area as well. And then governance, improving the staff policies as we try to think about improving or increasing our staff. We want to make sure that, again, that they have the work or the tools in place to do what they need to do and don't get held up by, those policies that need to be created. And then defining and develop responsibilities for additional staff members ties back to thinking about how we can bring on a paid land manager or any other position that we can find valuable to the organization. And then as we grow as an organization, the governance duty is to build that board, improving that onboarding process so that folks can join the organization and hit the ground running. Operations, defining and measure effort across the organization. Like I mentioned before, most of us are volunteers. So we have to make sure that the effort we're putting in, the hours we're putting in is measurable and worth the value that it's bringing. So making sure that the goals that we set in our strategic planning, as well as the work that we're doing in our operations day to day, are being measured and making sure that they're the best use of our time. And then continuing the improvement and documentation of bookkeeping and accounting process. I think that kind of goes without saying is necessary for any organization, but again, thinking we often have transitions between board members, treasurers, and just making sure that those processes are clear and documented to make sure that we're doing the best that we can. Fundraising and membership, like we mentioned, the membership program is a backbone to the organization at this point, and we really think that with our increase in marketing, as well as the improvements with our distributor, that we can make sure that that membership program is benefiting our members and the organizations that partner with us, and make it valuable to the point of increasing our membership and bringing in additional revenue. And then increasing grant applications. So we know we have some good grants that we can apply to, but really increasing those that we're submitting to increase the possible revenue that brings to the organization to help maybe bring on potential paid staff or additional equipment for conservation and stewardship, or even helping with access and acquisitions or any of our other committees, just making sure that we're able to expand our reach. And then implementing that merchandising platform. Fundraising and membership, they're not really putting together the designs themselves, but making sure that we have the online platforms or working with distributors for fulfillment, so that once we do come up with the designs and the products, we're ready to get those out into the hands of our community. Events and sponsorship, expanding Red in a Day last year was phenomenal, and this year's going to be even better. And then increasing those small events, like we mentioned, we're able to have some film showings. We've partnered with MadTree on some things already this year, as well as the Cincinnati Boulder Comps. And so we've done a lot of retrospective looks at our events and really realized the events that are most impactful and focusing on those. And then increasing Rocktoberfest revenue. Sometimes it's hard to think that Rocktoberfest can get bigger, but Billy, our executive director, as well as the other board members that are really heavily involved in that event, prove that it's possible every year. And it seems to be continuing to be one of the largest and best events. And then incorporating education and DEI into our events, again, along with the education, DEI and outreach committee and our marketing committee, just making sure that we have not only fundraising in mind at our events, but also that engagement and education. And then marketing and communications, again, this touches so many facets of the organization, but promoting and advertising the RRGCC activities and events. So again, social media, newsletters, and things like that in a way that, we can build a unified RRGCC brand. So no matter who sees the brand logo or, our tent at an event, they understand what we stand for. And then creating that merchandise designs like we talked about with the fundraising and membership. So making sure that we have the designs that our community members are going to want to see and want to purchase. All right, so looking at our 2024 goals, I do want to say there's a lot of work that is not on this list. This is a really good look at our primary goals, but all of these committees did a really good job in our strategic planning session to break these down even further to really obtainable chunks. So we have a lot of work going on, but this is a really good look at our main pieces here. But with that being said, I'm going to move into our update. So now looking at our membership program and getting an update from our executive director, Billy Smith.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah, another great year for our young membership program, and excited to have Emily on board. She's going to be working a lot on this, the functionality of the membership, improving the just how the membership works and some of the issues that we've had with it too. So hoping to improve a lot on that. And our member base this year topped out at 523, which is great. Our goal was to break 500, and it's really cool to see a lot of those folks being in the tier 2 and tier 3. This is a really great way for our organization to have a form of income that we can, kind of model things after and not be based on, singular events like Rocktoberfest. And all of our sponsors are listed there. I want to shout out to all of them. Thank you again for supporting the RRGC and the membership and all of our members. A few new ones that we added on towards the end of the last year were Rock Sport, One Love Hemp, and Firefly Hills, which is a campground in Betaville. And our tiers for the upcoming year staying the same as they have been since the beginning of the membership program. And you can see the new shirt color there. The tier 3 incentive this year is going to be a hoodie, and it's pretty much the same color as the shirt there. You can see all of that on our membership page and more if you want to go check it out. If you aren't a member, if you know some friends that aren't members, egg them to sign up.
All right, thanks, Billy. Up next, we're going to look at access and acquisitions with Jeremy Rancic.
Hey, everybody. This slide here I put together is sort of a look at the growth of climbing in the Red River Gorge area over the years. And if we start and look back in the earlier guidebooks, not the earliest, but one of the earlier guidebooks, John Bruno's guidebook from 1998, there were about 1,000 climbs in that guidebook. And you can see we're sort of hitting an exponential growth trend here, where by the time we get to present day, we've crested over 4,000, and I'm sure I'm missing hundreds of routes because there's routes that we don't know about that are out there. But knowing that there's 4,000 routes out there, the other piece of this from the access and acquisitions perspective is, well, are those open to the public? Are they private? Are they secured? And when we say secured, is it permanent or temporary? And I think, if you look at the chart on the right, the amount of open secured routes dominates, but there's also a lot that are open and unsecured. Examples of open and unsecured might be routes that are on private property where we have tacit agreement for access, but nothing permanent. So those are the types of things that are continuing to be on our list, as well as new opportunities like you've heard about with Ashland, which I'll speak to in a bit more. If you're looking at route breakdowns, about half of the routes are on coalition property, the U.S. Forest Service or the Dana Boone National Forest being the next largest, followed by Muir Valley. You can go to the next slide, Jake. So we already touched on what our strategy is, which is to secure the highest quality climbing opportunities and make sure that it's sustainable for the environment where we climb. But I think looking at the objectives a bit more, there is we've got 3 really solid opportunities out there right now. Ashland, which I'll speak to in a minute, a land acquisition that I think is probably medium to high probability of happening this year, and access easement, meaning a private landowner who is going to give us permanent access to their property for some existing routes and new route development. I think that's also a high probability of happening, and let's say at least the next 12 months. So from an objectives perspective, I want to see at least one of those 3 close, particularly since we have a couple of them that are high priority and high probability. We're also working to improve our communication with private landowners. We want to get ahead of the curve with folks who have existing climbing on their property, and engage with them on conversations about what their long-term goals are for their property, and make sure that we're top of mind. We've done some work on route development and bolting recommendations, and I'm going to just plug the our website and the bolting page, which you can go look at relative to our recommendations for new route development. And there's some good guidance there on making sure you understand whose property you're on when you're developing and you have the appropriate permissions. If you're on coalition property, we're going to ask that you submit a new route form. You can access it from the website. It's not an approval process, but it's out there for us to be aware of where new routes are going in, so that we can make sure that the right infrastructure is put in to support those routes. So I really encourage everybody to do that. And there's a memorandum of understanding that we're asking folks developing on our property to also sign, which again, it's focusing on recommendations around appropriate hardware and those sorts of things. I think one I want to mention on number 5 there, which I don't know if we'll accomplish it this year. It might be a longer term thing, but one of the things that has allowed the coalition to operate without some of the large liability that you might have when you're allowing visitors to participate in a dangerous sport like rock climbing is the Kentucky Recreational Use Statute, which provides limits the liability to visitors if you're not charging for access if they're recreating. That statute on the Kentucky Code does not speak specifically to rock climbing, and we're going to investigate trying to get rock climbing added specifically to it. So those are the objectives for this year. I think with that, I'll switch over to speaking a little bit about Ashland and where we're at with that. So if you have not heard, Ashland Inc. has been cleaning up its 2,800 acres or so in the Lee County area. It abuts multiple portions of coalition property. There are a lot of opportunities for new climbing on that property, and there are some great conservation and environmental protection values associated with it. So when we learned that tract was going up for bid, we put together a strategy to identify the highest value parcels and make bids for each of those pieces. We realized also that the coalition was not in a position to buy the entire tract. So we started to work with committed partners and targeting some bigger tracts that way. And then we were able to successfully build a group of investors and to make an offer for the entire parcel. We had a successful social media campaign with a substantial amount of likes, shares, comments. So we really were able to get some good buzz around this. There was also a power company podcast that we did speaking to this. So if you want to learn more about the backstory on this, I'd encourage you to listen to that. So we did end up making 4 offers for specific tracts. We made another offer for a larger tract with one partner, and then the investor group, if you will, or partner group made an offer for the entire thing. At this point, none of our offers have been selected, but as far as I'm aware, no offer has been accepted at this point. I think this was a great success, but we're not there yet. We're going to continue ongoing dialogue with the realtor and with Ashland. And if our offers aren't selected, I think there's real opportunity to work with whoever the new owners are if somebody else ends up winning this bid, if you will. From a funding perspective, I thought the numbers we were able to come up with and the people who came forward to support us were pretty amazing. We had $60,000 of pledged donations, unrequested. There was no specific ask for that. The coalition has accumulated some cash because we do not have a mortgage right now. We got a commitment from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for a specific tract. We've applied for a $600,000 grant from the USDA Community Forest Program. That application is in the works right now. It's a matching grant, so we'd have to come up with 600. I think we have favorable odds. The one downside with that grant is I think our success is going to be somewhat dependent upon whether or not we have a purchase and sale agreement in place. One of the other amazing numbers there was the amount of private loan offers we received. So climbers who came forward and said, I'd be willing to loan the coalition money on a favorable rate. I think that could be a new model for how we move forward in trying to do these types of acquisitions. And then finally, we've applied for $350,000 from the Access Fund Loan Program. We got letters of support from the Fish and Wildlife Service, UK Department of Forestry, Beattyville, Lee County Tourism, and there's one pending, but I've heard it's coming from the Danny Boone National Forest. So hopefully there'll be more good news in the future, but for now, we're sort of playing the waiting game.
Thanks, Jeremy. All right. Up next, we're going to hear from Curtis Dyer on conservation and stewardship. Curtis, you are on mute. There we go.
You zoom enough all day long, I think I'd remember to unmute. But anyway, so it was a busy year for us this year. And this year we've also made some interesting new changes. I was originally the committee chairman the past few years, but the committee now has been chairmanship has been given over to Curtis Rogers, not to be confused with me. But that will allow me the opportunity as the land manager to focus more heavily on the conservation, and that will then allow for the community to move forward looking at more things such as the work we're starting to do with the UK Forestry Service and looking at our land beyond just taking care of the erosion at this point. Most of the numbers you see there are pretty much the same from last year. The trail hours is a little bit less from last year, but we still seem to be hitting around 1,000 volunteer hours a year. Next slide. So as I said, it's been a very busy year. One of the major highlights that we did this year was reroute Miller East. I don't know if people have noticed when they've been walking out towards Highlands, Camelot, and Nevermore, but the original trail, the creek, has been starting to slowly slip into where the trail was and starting to erode away that bank. So we finally gotten that moved up to higher ground, which will then provide stability for that trail in the long term. It also allowed for us to also make a more consistent and smooth grade transition, so it's a lot easier for people going out there. We continued work also out at Brono. Brono is a long-term project, as Jake had mentioned earlier. We've started at the very bottom and have been working up with terracing layers. We've gotten up to roughly about 2 girls alone. Hopefully this year we'll get some more terracing up by Belly of the Beast and maybe a little bit further over. But one of the big things that also, I don't know if people have noticed, we also rerouted the trail out there, which is now more environmentally stable and a lot easier for people to go up and down to the area. We also did some terracing work over at Infirmary in the newer moderate grades over there. We had to do some major storm damage over at Secret Garden with one of the wood terraces we had in place got destroyed by a giant tree that fell. We've also finished up a lot of terracing over at Hazel Hollow, which has been phenomenal because that means we've gotten that in place before the area was hit very heavily. So now it'll allow for it to hopefully stay sustainable and the routes to have the same characteristic start as it was when developed, hopefully 10, 20 years from now. We've also been busy putting a bunch of bridges in all over the place. One of the other new things that happened this year through a grant, which was phenomenal, was the Climber Stewart program. That has been able to allow us to educate climbers there at the parking lot, both not on our property, but also Forest Service in Muir Valley, to really help push more of that education so people understand what's going on. As you can see down below, we're getting ready to continue it again this year in spring. We've also done some expansions of the parking lot at Motherlode and at MFRP, which were much needed to be able to help with the amount of people coming in, because climbing has just continued to explode, and it will continue to explode, and we will be continuing to get more climbers. One of the trends that I've noticed personally, for having been with climbing for so long, is that a lot of people that I would have expected to stop climbing continue climbing with their wives and starting to bring their children out now. So it's actually changing a little bit of the dynamics too, also at the crag. One of the things that has also happened with the new change in the Conservation and Storage Committee is that we were actually able to do some woolly aphid treatment this year, hoping to continue that again this year, especially with the help of UK and with some of the volunteers, especially Maggie on the committee. For this year, one of the big things is we had huge fundraising that allowed for us to be able to then get the access fund to bring the conservation team out. Basically, they're going to be very busy hitting chaos, trying to get that into better order, along with some other areas. Another fun, exciting thing that we're excited about right now is that we normally have what has been referred to many years ago as Train the Trainers, but has been changed into the Trail Skills Workshop, is now this year hopefully going to be more of a regional skills workshop, with the Access Fund helping to lead that with Billy, myself, and some other people there. We already talked about the Climbing Storts again coming this year, and I kind of mentioned some of the major projects that we're going to do, like at Brono, Chaos, but there's other areas we're looking at, like the office, need work to finish up work at the Chica Bonita, Corner Pocket, and Drive By and Monastery. It just, the list never ends, basically. Next slide. I think that's it for me, Jake.
Yep. Thank you, Curtis.
You're welcome.
All right. Up next, we'll hear from Brianna for Education, DEI, and Outreach.
What's up, everyone? Brianna here. I am the current chair of the Education, DEI, and Outreach Committee, and the incoming, now the vice president for the coalition. So I just wanted to kind of jump into some of our wins from 2023, as well as also focus, for this slide on the value, the vision, and the commitment of this committee, but also the broader organization in regards to our education, DEI, and outreach work. And so regarding our values, we value world-class rock climbing opportunities found in and around the Red River Gorge as a national treasure deserving of our best efforts to preserve for all climbers to enjoy, experience, and appreciate. So our focus is all climbers here. The vision of this committee being to exist to further the mission of securing and protecting open public access to rock climbing in the Red River Gorge by fostering a diverse, equitable, and inclusive community of climbers who value, respect, and uplift each other and the land that we climb on. We do this through education, empowerment, proactive outreach, and positive change at our events, within our online presence, and within the community on our properties. And of course, our commitment, the Red River Gorge Climbers Coalition is committed to promoting diversity in all facets of climbing. We are dedicated to creating a safer space in the outdoors and want everyone to feel welcome on our properties. The outdoors are for everyone. So I just wanted to take a moment to kind of focus on the purpose, vision, values, and commitment of this committee. You can hop to the next slide. So 2023 was a really amazing year for this committee, for the organization, for our community. We had 18 Climb Late events, which for those that aren't aware are our gym opportunities, our gym events, where we provide free climbing and access to rental shoes and harness and everything that's needed for folks from marginalized communities to experience rock climbing for the first time, or for maybe the 10th time, for free. So we did 18 of these events across Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio at 4 different gyms. So huge win. We served, over 1,000 people with just that program alone. We were able to provide 3 scholarships to Rocktoberfest to marginalized community members. So again, another huge win. We did 1 outdoor trip in partnership with Outdoor Afro, which is a national Black organization focusing on getting Black community members into the outdoors through a variety of different avenues. But we had one of those trips where we had about 10 people come out. You can see that first image at the bottom is from our outdoor trip. We hosted 1 free outdoor clinic during Rocktoberfest. We donated 1,846 items during our Climbers That Care to the Beattyville Housing and Development. So you can see the truck full of items that we were able to donate in that middle image. And then we hosted 7 Gym to Crags, providing education to the broader climbing community. So huge, amazing year, serving over and engaging over 2,000 people. And you can see that last image on the right is from one of our LEF climb lates, which are honestly our largest climb lates that we host in Lexington, Kentucky. We regularly have about 100 people come out to those events when we host them. So yeah, for 2024, we have some really exciting things planned. We currently have 18 climb lates planned across the tri-state area at 4 different gyms at the moment. One of them being a new gym that we are partnering with, Mosaic, here in Cincinnati, which puts us at 3 gym partners here in the Cincinnati area. We also plan to add 2 other locations this year with 1 new partner in the Louisville area. So we'll be expanding to a 4th city, which is awesome, very exciting. And we plan to add more than just the 18 currently scheduled climb lates as well. We're also looking to ramp up our Gym to Crag program to about once a month instead of about every other month, as well as continuing to partner with colleges and gyms and do some outdoor education as well. And one small shift with this committee as well is that we have transitioned to passing off some of the more tactical execution of Climb Late and Gym to Crag over to our events and outreach committee, so that this committee can focus a bit more on implementing some trainings within the staff and board to really tackle those systemic issues head on within our organization and provide training around equity to the and cultural humility to the board and staff that hopefully will radiate into the community and just help us be able to serve our communities better and be more equipped to do that. So really excited for a really successful year. I feel like we've already off to a great start and have a lot planned for the year. So thanks.
Thanks, Brianna. Up next, events and sponsorship with Curtis Rogers.
All right, hey everybody. I am Curtis Rogers, or Other Curtis, as a lot of people will call me now. This is my first year as the chair for the events committee. So first off is Rocktoberfest. It's our biggest event. It's our most successful event, and it was hugely successful this year. Many thanks to Billy and the team for putting that together and all the volunteers we had out there. The presenting sponsor was Quantrell Subaru, and we were pumped to have them out there. We were lucky that we had Chris Sharma out there as well. You might have seen him walking around the campground, greeting people, signing autographs. It was great to have him out there. So we had our best year ever, like I said, brought in more than 100K, 1,500 attendees, so 700-ish on Friday, 825-ish on Saturday, as well as over 100 volunteers. So it was a huge attendance. Like Jake said in the beginning, it just keeps getting bigger and better every year. We also had 14 clinics with pro climbers and guides, and offering that kind of diversity of climbing classes and experiences for people is a huge event. It's a big win for us, and really proud of what we've done there. Also had some films and presentations. Chris Sharma showed his film. We had the presentation by Yeti. Saw Mike Wilkinson. He's on this call. Many thanks to him. He brought in his film and showed it as well. And then we also gave our Legacy Award, the annual award we give to just amazing contributions to climbing in the red, and we gave that to the Ventura family. So Rocktoberfest, again, it's huge. It's getting bigger. I feel pretty safe in making the bet that it'll be bigger and better next year as well. I know Billy's working on some great stuff. And then Johnny Alex Trail Day, that's our summer trail day that we get together a bunch of folks and we move rocks and cut trails and trim trees and just work on all of our property. We had, again, this is kind of the trend that you'll see in a lot of our events and a lot of the things that we're doing as climbing explodes. So does the attendance of these events. So we had 135 people there, which is more than we've ever had. We had 14 projects completed. And then we also had our first locals day, which was a cool addition to where on a different day, I believe it was the day before or maybe the weekend before, we had folks who live, called the Red their home, came out and did some trail work as well. So many thanks for that event. Miguel's Pizza, the Rock House, West 6, AL81, everybody who made that happen. Also, big shout out to other Curtis, not me, Curtis Galdyer and his wife, Audrey, for all the work they do there, as well as Billy. And then, so our newest event, the Red in a Day, last year was the first year. It's kind of tags on to the Red River Reunion. Just side note, it is coming up here in almost, about a month. So Billy put that event together, and it was a huge success. And it's kind of become, the event for us in the spring. We had 44 teams compete in the competition, hoping to have even more this year. And the winner got the Miguel's sponsorship. So again, that event's going to get bigger and better. I know, again, Billy's working on some fun stuff to make that whole weekend just a great experience. So if you haven't signed up, if you're interested in signing up, hop on the website and do that. And that's all I got.
Thanks, Curtis. All right, moving on next to finances with our treasurer, Matt Fronick.
Hi, like Jake said, I'm Matt Fronick, acting treasurer. So 2023 support last year totaled $248,000, and pretty pleased to report that our organization experienced another record-breaking year in terms of contributions, beating it by approximately 23% from our 2021 high. And growth was notable across all of the categories you see right there in the green, and along with our events categories. It's important to note that I think this increase in revenue not only underscores the trust and support of our stakeholders, but it's also what empowers us to advance our mission and strategically grow the organization, which I think you've seen throughout the years, getting Billy full-time, hiring the marketing director. And I think it's going to be important that we can continue this trajectory moving forward. Next slide, Jake. Expenses last year totaled about $160,000, which represents about a 30% growth compared to last year. This slide shows our breakdown of expenses by month, along with a breakdown with our reporting categories in that lower left. I think it's also important to note that our expenses did grow, but the organization continues to grow and evolve, and we're experiencing proportional growth across various operational aspects. And this growth is essential to support our organic and strategic growth and ensure sustainable future success for the organization across all of our initiatives and efforts. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. All right, up next we have a look at some highlights of individual donors from Nick Hart.
Hey everybody, Nick Hart. I'm the chair of the fundraising and membership committee. First of all, thank you to all the members that at every level for assisting this effort. That is a large chunk of our revenue. Also, thanks for gifts of any size. These recognize our large donors, but obviously gifts of any size matters. And also thanks to the people here on the call, for your sweat, your talent, and your time that you provide. But it's also very important to recognize these individuals on this sheet, because it's a substantial part of our revenue sources, it's 31% is from individual donors, as you saw on the previous slide. So these people are, in addition to being members, this does not include membership donations, have made these contributions. So thank you. Many of you are on the call today. I try to write you thank you notes as well, but it is vital, and it can't be stressed enough, because we don't know when these are coming in, and so when they do, it's a gift in that exact word. So thank you for doing that. The only other comment I'd make to these are, we do pay attention to the comments and the notes. We see a lot of buy more land. Billy is awesome. Thank you so much. And then for specific programs like DEI and our other, or some other events that we go to. So definitely feel free to continue to, I encourage you, please continue to make these donations. Do communicate with us, how you like that money spent, because it's paid attention to. But these individuals are vital, representing nearly a third. Individual donors are making a third of what our revenue is each year. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Nick. And thank you all, like Nick said, it's very crucial, and we're very appreciative of everybody who's giving to the organization. Up next, Billy, talking about some of our corporate sponsors.
Yeah, I just want to shout out to all the great brands, companies, organizations around the country, around the world, and right here in the Red River Gorge that help make everything that we do possible. They help make our big three events exciting. Rocktoberfest, RIAD, JTD would be much more boring if it wasn't for the participation and support of all of these great sponsors, especially Quantrell Subaru. Can't even remember how many years they've been our title sponsor for Rocktoberfest now. They've been great to us, really heavily supporting, and yeah, they like to see all the Subarus in our parking lots. So shout out to them, and of course some of the other big names in the climbing world: Black Diamond, Cliffview right here in the Gorge, Elemental up in Louisville, of course Miguel's Pizza and the Ventura family. They've been really great supporters for us for the last, since we've been around, and then Trango and Tenaya, and then everybody else that's on that list there. We appreciate all of the support, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Billy. All right, we're getting towards the end of our presentation now, so just a quick look at some important dates. A lot of these have already been mentioned in other slides, but Red River Union and the Red in a Day competition, that is a month away. Registration can be found on our website, so if you haven't already, grab your partner, go out there, sign up, and get ready for a good time. Johnny and Alex Trail Day slated for that June 22nd date. So, be prepared to come out there and, like Curtis Rogers was saying, lift some rocks, build some bridges, and have a good time. Rocktoberfest, hopefully that's already on your calendar, recurring for the end of time. Expecting a large turnout and a big event there. And then as we get into the small events, the Jim DeCrags, those are, like Brandon was saying, hopefully getting those more regular, monthly. We've already had some at REI in Cincinnati. We're working on some with some universities like Purdue. And those will pop up on our social media as well as some email blasts. So keep a lookout for those. Climb Lake, you can find that full schedule on our website. And then a new event we're working on this year with West 6, halfway to Rocktoberfest, that kicks off on the May 5th, Derby weekend, but it is a month-long fundraiser where West 6 is donating to us for the entire month of May. So maybe add that on your calendar, not just the event, but maybe spend some more weekends getting some drinks at West 6 at any of their locations. And then like it mentions there, if you are not currently receiving that newsletter, we are sending that out quarterly with some more of the detailed real-time updates. You can donate online in any of our initiatives, and you'll be signed up for that quarterly newsletter, or feel free to shoot us an email and we'll make sure that you get added to that. But yeah, now we're just kind of getting into our Q&A session. I haven't seen any questions pop up in the chat, but just take a moment, feel free to add any questions to the chat Q&A or come off mute and we can go over any of those. All right, Mike Wilkinson, thank you. Let me stop here. Mike Wilkinson, I think it's great we're cleaning up areas and doing other things for the Forest Service. What are they doing for us, the RRGCC? I'd like to better understand what we get in this relationship besides being able to continue to climb on existing routes on Forest Service land. That's a good question. A lot of our best practices, and maybe Curtis Gildire can dive into a little bit further, but are based off of best practices that Forest Service and others use. And so just having that relationship, yeah, to your point of making sure that we're able to work with them to keep routes open on Forest Service land, but also being just kind of in the know with anything that may be changing with that side of things, and making sure that how that may impact the area and how we can be involved to open it. So I don't know if Curtis Rogers, Billy, Curtis Gildire had anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'll add to that. We had a meeting with them this morning. We have a monthly meeting with the Forest Service, and this morning they told us, hey, we're going to give you that letter of support for your proposals. And we've asked for it for a long time. I mean, I don't know, maybe because we went out there and cleaned up hen's nests and moved it a little bit further. I don't know, but I mean, Mike, to that question, I think I've been kind of taking the approach of, killing them with kindness. Keep doing this kind of stuff. That, whether it's cleaning up Indian Creek or climbing on top of hen's nest and getting some old camping stuff out of the way. They're a good group of people. I think we've got a good relationship with them. A lot of newer names, and hopefully in the future that'll pay off.
I think also you touched on it, Curtis, that the letter of support from them, but our work with the Forest Service in demonstrating to them and to other organizations that we care for our property is important, and we are following standards similar to what the Forest Service standards are. The funding that we were offered from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the likelihood or the positive feedback at least we've gotten on the grant from the USDA, which is really the Forest Service, I don't think we would have been able to build a solid grant application if we were, had just had our blinders focused on our property. So it creates opportunities for us in ways that may not seem as apparent. And I don't think next week, next month, or next year we're going to get access to new rock climbing areas on Forest Service property. It might be possible that 5 or 10 years from now something happens, but that opportunity is only going to present itself if we take these sort of slow steps along the way. And one of those steps, if you recall back, was our commentary and feedback to the Forest Service on their updated management plan, which includes focuses on improvements at existing crags on Forest Service property. And they've worked through and done, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Curtis, but they've done their environmental studies, and they need to do a little bit more of analysis on that. But it looks like maybe in 2025, actual work might get done on those specific crags on Forest Service property to sort of bring them up to a better standard. That's the precursor in my mind for conversations about access in new areas. The Forest Service is never going to be in a position to say, yeah, we're going to put resources towards developing a new crag or helping you guys do that or allowing you to do that or whatever that looks like if the current crags are not up to a certain standard. So it's a big undertaking. It's going to take some time, but we are seeing very positive outcomes even from ancillary things like this grant application.
Thanks, Jeremy, and good question, Mike. Matt asked, Miller Fork parking access from different spots. Has anything come of it? Saw it mentioned as possible in some Facebook groups. I don't have any information on that. The primary access point is our main parking lots. In terms of access from other locations, we don't have any plans to change that for now.
you know, if the Ashland or portions of the Ashland property do end up being sold or acquired by the coalition, that may result in new access to Miller Fork.
Yeah,
that is
possibly. I
Yeah,
would caveat that there's a lot of work still to be done before.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, are we working on it? That is a solution. Is the tracks that we have bid on, if we were to have any of our have those offers accepted, would potentially provide access from Route 11. So we've looked at a couple other things too, which I can't go into the details right now, but there's a couple other pieces of property on above Miller Fork that might allow access. So we're not ignoring it. It's just, this is not a quick, easy solution to it.
All right. Let's see. Dylan, what can you tell us about 2 properties other than Ashland that the organization is working to access this year?
Yeah, I can speak to that as well. The tough thing with those is until documents and agreements are signed or transactions are completed, I got to be really careful, or we need to be really careful about what we share, just so that we're not in a position to have to walk things back or damage those opportunities or prevent them from coming to fruition. I will say that they are in very close proximity to our existing properties. Some of them, one of them has a substantial amount of existing climbing on it, and opportunities for a lot more. And the other one does not have much climbing on it and has opportunities for a fair amount of new climbing. The counterparties at this point are very committed to making it happen. I think the details still need to get hammered out and the contracts need to be signed. Both of those, interestingly, will probably be fairly low cost to the coalition to implement, which I think is exciting. So I really hope that I can, next time we're having this call, we're talking about one or both of those 2 having happened.
Yeah, really would hope to see that as well. A lot of work has been put into those by Jeremy and that committee, and I'm really hopeful that we can talk more here soon. All right, we have Alex. With regards to the Jim DeCragg program, what is the current scope of the RRGCC program? Is this program based on standard AMGA CWA program or a custom program? And more of a general question, who's responsible for the standard idea of a Jim DeCragg? Everyone wants to do one. More and more climbers are being created by gyms. We profit off more and more climbers. Should gyms do more Jim DeCragg programs, or should organizations like the RRGC take that load? I will start by saying that, yes, we do see that other gyms are facilitating their own Jim DeCragg programs. And when we've done our Jim DeCragg presentations at gyms, the turnout is a little bit lower. And I think that's due to the part that, they can attend those at their gym, and then also folks at the gym just want to go climbing. But so to answer your first question, our scope, we do not give any instructional information. We are not certified guides or anything like that. So we do stay away, just from liability reasons, to provide any climbing instruction. We do caveat that climbing is dangerous, but the scope of our Jim DeCragg is really focusing from our perspective as the Red River Gorge Climbers Coalition of going into the details of what to expect when climbing at the Red River Gorge. Now, a lot of that information is going to be transferable to other areas, whether in the United States or outside the United States, of general ethics of how to behave and clean up trash and things like that, and conservation and preservation, where to go, what not to do, hammocks and things like that. But in general, it is more about how we conduct ourselves, as well as navigating the Red River Gorge and what to expect when you are climbing in the Red River Gorge. And then to your question about who's responsible to that, I think all of the Jim DeCragg presentations that I've seen have followed a general theme, but I do think that there are benefits to, say, having a gym present to Jim DeCrack because, like I said, they are more equipped to go over some specifics of climbing because they have that insurance, they have taken on that risk already, and they can actually have more hands-on instruction. So it is something that we are constantly trying to expand, but as not certified guides, not a guiding company, we do kind of stick to just the more informational rather than the instruction. So I'll let Brianna jump in there in case I missed anything.
No, Jake, I think that's great. You know, I think whether you mention this or not, that our Jim DeCrack curriculum that we create is really curated to our properties and to our region to really help people who are looking to experience climbing in the Red River Gorge, whether in the North Gorge or the South Gorge for the first time, kind of know where to go, how to navigate that. So that was the only other thing I was going to add, that we try to make it specific to the Red River Gorge, which kind of sets us a little bit apart from maybe other Jim DeCracks that exist in gyms across the country or in other areas.
And we do have some pretty cool films on our YouTube channel that Mike Wilkinson helped us create that kind of go over some of those important factors of, you know, what to do and what not to do at the crags. And I do believe on our website, our presentation is available there as well. So feel free to check it out. And we're always looking for feedback. So if you attend a Jim DeCrack or see any of those videos and there's something that you feel like we're missing, please feel free to reach out to us. But good question. Thank you. All right, Mike Wilkinson. At RRGCC sponsored events, you know, film screenings, Red in the Day, those kinds of things, will attendees be able to sign up for memberships on location through staff volunteers on site? Yes, that is something that we've worked on the last couple years. And this year we've already been able to improve that process by having the shirts and swag items on hand. So if someone signs up, we're able to give that to them on the spot. And then even during Rocktoberfest, when it's a little bit more chaotic, we have both a paper form as well as can take payments through Square, just to make sure that we are able to, you know, successfully get those membership items out to everybody. So yeah, it's something that we're working on, as well as that merchandising. All good questions. I appreciate the engagement. All right. Well, Mike, put a QR code on the member shirts and I'll recruit people at gyms. Yeah, absolutely. I know we're trying to get some more posters and things up at gyms and make that more aware, but those QR codes definitely. Good call out. All right. Well, thank you all for joining. It seems like the questions are slowing down. Like I said earlier, if you have any questions after the meeting or watching the recording, feel free to email us, rrgcc@rrgcc.org, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But thank you all for attending tonight. Really appreciate you all being involved in the community, and looking forward to seeing you at our next event or our next open meeting. All right, have a good rest of your evening. Thank you all.